Hello everyone, this is David from Automotive Press. I have two very interesting comparison, which is the Toyota 4Runner Limited that I own compared to the new 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now I'm not going to do a direct comparison between these two because the 4Runner is up for a change in about a year and a half to 2 years time. Instead, what I want to do is talk about the 2024 Toyota 4Runner and compare it to this Jeep because that's the car that will likely compete with Grand Cherokee as Toyota tries to move more upscale and become a little bit more mainstream away from off-road type vehicle like this one. So let's see how that goes. Let me talk about the Jeep Grand Cherokee in terms of its drivability, quality, and interior and exterior. And let's see if Toyota is up to the challenge of bringing up a 4Runner in 2024 that would truly compete with the likes of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Welcome back. So here I have the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee in the highest flagship version called the Summit Reserve. This one has the 5.7 liter V8 engine. In comparison, this 4Runner that I own has a 4 liter V6 engine, which is tried and true, and it's proven, as you know. But what's interesting is the upcoming Toyota 4Runner. What powertrain would it have? Well, there's lots of speculation. We think that it will have a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, either with or without the hybrid system. Let's compare that to the Jeep Grand Cherokee, which has multiple choices. This one can be equipped with 3.6 liter V6 engine, the Pentastar engine, or this 5.7 liter V8 engine, or even a plug-in hybrid. So Jeep is already offering a lot of choices in terms of the powertrain. So it's going to be quite interesting to see if Toyota will indeed maybe keep the V6 engine for the next generation 4Runner, which I don't think they would do. So right off the bat, that would be a bit of a challenge for marketplace because I think Toyota should increase the number of choices for powertrain. Otherwise, they won't be able to compete with the likes of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. So that's my first concern. The second concern is the fact that Jeep comes in two different versions, a standard length, which is this one here, but also comes in full-size extended length version, which is simply called L. And that one has a proper third row seating and more like a Chevy Tahoe territory in some ways. It's still smaller than that, but because Jeep has moved upscale and gotten bigger, it's kind of moving into that territory. Compare that to the upcoming 4Runner, which will likely keep one standard length, which is going to be very similar to this one. They won't probably make it much bigger, so right off the bat, once again, the Jeep will have some advantage because of the extra room and extra length that it has right now compared to what's coming ahead for the 4Runner. So in terms of powertrain, in terms of body size, there is going to be some disadvantage already for the upcoming 4Runner. But obviously, there are many advantages for Toyota just because of the reliability, in terms of durability, and the fact that the 4Runner is still built in Japan and most likely still will be built in Japan. So those are some of the things to take into consideration. Now, to be honest, the Jeep Grand Cherokee probably competes more with the Grand Highlander or Lexus TX that are coming out in about a year or so, or perhaps even competing with the Toyota Crown that was unveiled recently. Now, I know that the version of the Toyota Crown that's coming this fall is the crossover version, but they did showcase an SUV version of the Crown in Japan, which might come out in a year or so, and that could compete with something like a Grand Cherokee. But for now, I want to continue to compare the Jeep Grand Cherokee with the 4Runner because I know that the buyers cross-shop between these two models since both of them promise off-road capability and a rugged drivability. So I'm going to give you 8 reasons why I think Toyota could be in trouble for the first time with the 4Runner in comparison to the Grand Cherokee because of the things that they are likely not going to do when a new model comes out. The first reason why the 2024 Toyota 4Runner could already be in trouble in comparison to Jeep Grand Cherokee is the fact that they have so many different engine choices, as I mentioned previously. This one has a 5.7 liter V8 engine, but the Grand Cherokee can be equipped with a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 engine, a plug-in hybrid called the 4xe, which is going to be a very important model for Jeep and the marketplace. Compare that to the Toyota 4Runner, which right now has a 4 liter V6 engine, but it's slated to have a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine with a displacement of a 2.4 liter. I still think that that could be a problem, even though it has enough power and torque to compete with most of the SUV in the marketplace. I really do think that Toyota should keep a V6 engine as an option or quickly offer some kind of plug-in hybrid or at least a hybrid. No, I do think that they will offer the hybrid, which is going to be similar to the one that Lexus have shown in the new Lexus RX, which is a 2.4-liter turbocharged engine that is matched to the hybrid system, and that has a tremendous amount of power. So that will be a good engine to have on the 4Runner, but still there's nothing that can replace the feel of a V8 engine or V6 engine, and so a buyer, especially the traditional buyers, may flock to something like a Jeep Grand Cherokee away from the 4Runner once they find out that the V6 engine is no longer offered. I know many of you guys are going to say it's not the same vehicle. The 4Runner is built in Japan. It's have absolute amazing reliability, and I agree with that. But lately, Jeep has been doing well in J.D. Power and Consumer Report reliability record, and so maybe there isn't as much difference anymore in terms of a longer-term reliability. Resale value-wise, of course, the 4Runner is much better than the Jeep Grand Cherokee, but once again, Jeep is moving up in scale and getting closer and closer to some of the Japanese counterparts. So even that is not a big argument. The second reason why the 4Runner may be in trouble at some point when it comes out is that the plug-in hybrid is already here for Jeep, and I don't think Toyota will introduce a plug-in hybrid version of the 4Runner right away. I think it could be a few years after the 2024 4Runner comes out, so there could be a long waiting time to get a plug-in hybrid version of the 4Runner. And then finally, the third reason is that I absolutely love this V8 engine. I know that maybe it's not as reliable as the Toyota V8 engine from the past, but you know what? The V8 engine in the Jeep has been quite reliable because it's the same engine that's used across Stellantis product. So I really like the feel of the V8 engine, obviously not the fuel economy or the fuel efficiency, but if that is not of concern to you, there's absolutely no question that there's nothing out there in terms of V6 or turbocharged 4 or turbocharged V6 that can mimic or match the feel of a beautiful V8 engine like this. When you drive this engine, you're reminded how much you fell in love with the V8 engine from the past, and obviously moving forward, that's going to have to change. The fourth reason why the 2024 Toyota 4Runner could be in trouble is the styling. No, I do like my own rendering that I came up with it, but my suspicion is that it might not look like this based on some of the recent styling that's been done by Toyota. If you look at the new Crown that just came out, for example, I'm not really quite sure that design can be considered progressive or pioneering compared to the something like this one, which has the traditional Jeep look and feel combined with a very trendy design with a waterfall front grille that is now tucked in a bit, and then beautiful exterior that combines two-tone finish, especially in this dark wine color with a black roof. You would probably agree with me that this design is beautiful and amazing, almost like a Range Rover look and feel. So would the new 4Runner look as upscale and as beautiful as this? Well, we don't know for sure because none of us have seen the new 4Runner, but judging from the last few years of the design that Toyota has put out, I'm not quite convinced it's going to look as good as this. Obviously, design is a very subjective matter, so who knows what's going to happen, but Toyota has a bit of a catch-up to do to make sure that they do compete with the likes of this vehicle. So I'm inside the Jeep Grand Cherokee now, and the fifth reason why Toyota needs to be careful with the upcoming 4Runner in terms of calibration, tuning, and engineering is the fact that this Jeep has amazing handling. The steering feel and the feedback and accuracy is much better than the current 4Runner, which has hydraulic steering, so it does have a good road feedback. But because it's body on frame versus a unitized body on this one, it feels very disconnected from the road. It's very wallowy, the handling is sloppy, and it's not all that fun to drive, even though it has a good solid truck feel. Compare that to this one here, which is a very stiff monocoque body, and because of that, and perhaps due to the calibration of the steering, it has a really good feedback from the road, and it has just the right amount of heft into the steering, and I was surprised and maybe even shocked how good this felt on the roads. So that is something that Toyota has to keep an eye on it, because I think the Jeep Grand Cherokee is one of the best handling SUV in this market. The sixth reason why the new Toyota 4Runner or even the new Grand Highlander could be in trouble is the interior design. Look at this beautiful, amazing design, something that is a true strength of the Stellantis product, especially Jeep these days. I really enjoyed and loved the Jeep Grand Wagoneer design in terms of interior, and here it kind of mimics that feel. A beautiful wood pattern that has kind of outdoor-ish look and feel, a floating screen that is well integrated while still giving us buttons to the top and bottom, And even the steering has this amazing number of stitching mixed in with the wood. So when you come into the interior of this vehicle, it looks even more expensive than some of the European models, such as the Range Rovers, with this double stitching and a beautiful use of leather throughout. It's just a really well-designed interior. And then one of the biggest surprises is the Macintosh stereo system in this Grand Cherokee. It's probably one of the best stereo I've ever heard. It's substantially better than any of the JBL system in any of the Toyota product, even better than the Mark Levinson system that I had in my Lexus IS 500. It's definitely a benchmark when it comes to the audio sound and the clarity of the music delivery. So that is something I was very impressed with in terms of interior. And once again, I hope Toyota will step up to this kind of design, whether it's a 4Runner or Grand Highlander or even Lexus TX. The seventh thing I want to point out is somewhat controversial because it's to do with QDR, which is quality, durability, and reliability. Traditionally speaking, in terms of history, Jeep and Stellantis products have not done too well in terms of 2, 3, or 4-year reliability records compared to Toyota, which has one of the best records in the world, especially the 4Runner. So most likely Toyota doesn't have to worry too much about that because the perception isn't very positive for a Jeep product. But in recent years, if you look at the actual numbers from Consumer Report or JD Power or some other surveys, Jeep has moved up quite a bit to the point where the difference between Toyota and Jeep in terms of overall number of defects per 100 vehicles are actually quite minuscule. In fact, oftentimes it's less than 1 defect per car. So the perception might be worse than it really is. I think the quality and the overall reliability has improved to the point where I don't think you have to concern so much anymore. Unless you're keeping the vehicle for 10, 15, 20 years, I'm sure that Toyota will still easily surpass something from a Jeep brand. But if you're keeping it for a few years or within, let's say, a 4 or 5 year lease period, I don't think it matters anymore. The eighth and the final reason why the Jeep Grand Cherokee may have some advantage over the upcoming 4Runner is the fact that there are so many different variations of the Jeep Grand Cherokee that you can choose, which I mentioned previously. Whether it's the engine choices from V6 to V8 to plug-in hybrid, or the length of the body from a standard to the L version, or the choice of the options of the interior, as well as having a full automatic all-wheel drive. There's so many options and features you can pick in the Grand Cherokee, which probably won't be the case with the 4Runner because Toyota traditionally likes to keep things very simple and not overextend themselves in terms of a feature list. In addition, the powertrain will likely be 1 or 2 choices with a turbocharged 4 with or without hybrid, and that is going to be a bit of a difficult thing to swallow when a Jeep as a competitor is offering so many different choices. So that's the eighth and final reason why I think the Grand Cherokee has become a real benchmark, and Toyota has to step up when a new model comes out in the form of a 2024 4Runner. As I mentioned, maybe this competes more with Grand Highlander or even the Lexus TX. But again, looking at the history of what Toyota has done over the last little while, they really need to step up in terms of luxury features and powertrain choices, something that I'm really hoping will change as time goes. So I hope you enjoyed my video. I know many of you guys are Toyota loyalists, and maybe you're not too crazy about American products like Jeep. But to be honest, I actually think this one is one of the best SUVs out there, and I'm truly impressed. So let me know in the comments below what you think. But until next time, I'm signing off for now. If you can give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and subscribe, that would be truly appreciated. Thank you so much.